Hi there, and welcome to the first episode of Space for Safety. My name is Lovisa, and I am your host for this. And in this first episode, we are going to speak about stress and the nervous system and why you feel the way you do and why you are not broken. So let's dive in. Before we get into it, I am going to invite you to take a slow, cleansing breath in through your nose. And then exhale out through your mouth. You don't need to necessarily feel too relaxed right now, but I am going to invite you to listen. So today's episode is the foundation for everything else that we are going to be talking about in this series. So if you understand this episode somewhat, so many things will start making sense. Your anxiety and your burnout and your feelings of overwhelm, your gut issues, your sleep problems, your emotional reactivity, and that feeling of, why am I like this? And this is not going to be motivational talk in any single way. It is simply nervous system education. So let's get into it. First of all, I am Lovisa. I am a nervous system specialist and a breath science practitioner. I work with people who are high functioning and capable and often very self-aware, but still feel anxious and tense and disconnected, bloated, or exhausted. So most of them have already tried mindset work, and most of them are not lazy or undisciplined. But what they are missing is understanding how the nervous system really works and how they can start working with their bodies instead of against their bodies. And to begin this episode, I want to start talking about stress because I want to redefine stress a little bit, because stress is not weakness. It's not failure. It's not poor coping. It's nothing that we need to get rid of. Stress is simply a biological response to a perceived threat. And your nervous system has one primary job, and that is to keep you alive and to keep you safe. And it does that by constantly scanning your internal and external environment. And this is a process called neuroception. And this scanning is happening below your conscious thought. So your body doesn't ask you, is this specific thing dangerous? It asks, how does this feel? Does it feel safe or not? And I want to explain this quite important key clarification. So your nervous system, it does not distinguish between emotional threat or a physical threat or a social threat or even an imagined threat. So a deadline or an argument or scrolling the news, skipping meals or being overtired, they are all registered through the same system. So that's why stress can accumulate even when life looks fine on the outside. And I also want to explain why chronic stress happens. Because in modern life, our stress response often turns on, but it very rarely turns off. We don't complete what's called the stress cycle. So instead of going from a stressful moment and then responding to it and then recovering from it, we simply get stress and a response to that stress and then more stress, and then that leads to exhaustion. So let's rewire the clock a little bit and bring us back to the time when we were animals on the savannah or in the forest. Our biggest concerns were likely if we were going to find food for the day or if we were going to become food. So our nervous systems, they developed at a time when our main concern was to perceive actual threats, such as being chased by a bear or any other type of predator. So when you were on the savannah or in the forest and you were approached by a bear or you snuck up on a bear, your nervous system would immediately respond. It will perceive threat and send stress hormones such as adrenaline and noradrenaline and cortisol to your outer limbs so you can decide that you want to fight or flee or potentially freeze. It will dilate your pupils, it will increase your heart rate, and it will ensure that your breaths are more shallow so you can provide more oxygen to your outer limbs to facilitate you running away from that threat. If we're talking about a bear here, you would likely flee or maybe fight, but you probably have better odds if you are running away from it. Our bodies and our nervous systems were designed to deal with those type of threats. Then let's imagine that you do actually run away from it and you get back to safety with your family and your community, your tribe. And you at night sit around the fire and you talk about the story on how you got chased by a bear, or perhaps you even managed to kill the bear and you're actually eating that said bear with your family and community around this circle, around the fire. You are recovering, you are restoring, you are back in safety. Once the threat was gone, the stress response would complete. As humans, we would shake or breathe or rest and bring our bodies back to baseline. That would facilitate down regulation in your body and you would come back to safety. And that is also how our nervous system was designed to work. But now fast forward to modern life. We rarely are being chased by bears, but our nervous system, they never got updated. They didn't get the memo. So the same system that once responded to physical danger now responds to emails and deadlines and notifications and financial stress and relationship tension and the constant feeling of being on. And the system, the nervous system here, it does not know the difference between these threats. In modern day, we're not by any means chased by any bears. However, we wake up to 50 plus emails, or we are stuck in traffic commuting, or we have a stressful relationship either at work or in our partnership, or we are doom scrolling and are seeking dopamine hits. All of these things are perceived as a threat by your nervous system. So the nervous system does not know the difference between, oh my God, there's a bear right there, I need to fight, flee, or freeze, and I have 10 unread emails and someone is also at the same time disappointed in me. It just registers threat, threat, threat. And the alarm bell is singing, our amygdala in this case, which is our fear center in the back of our brain. The same response is issued. Your pupils dilate and your heart rate rises and your breath becomes more shallow because you need to fight, flee, or freeze. And here's the problem. The old stressors we had, they were intense and short and often followed by recovery. But the modern stresses we have, they are always in like low to medium intensity. They're quite constant and they are rarely completed with that stress cycle. We rarely find ways to down regulate after a stressful event. So the system simply stays activated. And this is not because you are weak and it's not because you cannot cope, but because you're living in an environment that your biology was never really designed for. All of that stress shows up in your body as tension, as anxiety, as chest pain, or as poor posture in so many different ways, in your muscles, in your fascia, in your ligaments. It stays stuck in your body. And these two systems that I briefly mentioned before, the fight, flight, or freeze response versus your rest and digest and restore, they are all part of the autonomic nervous system. So I've told you a little bit about the nervous system already, but let's dive a little bit deeper into the autonomic nervous system. So that is a main part that is involved in our stress response. It has two main branches. It has the sympathetic, which is the mobilization, it's the activation and arousal. And it's the parasympathetic, which is the rest and digest and restore and recover. And neither of them are good or bad. They're both needed and they work together. So throughout your day, you're supposed to go in between sympathetic and parasympathetic. Let's say something stressful happens, whether you're stuck in traffic or you wake up in the morning and you receive 10 emails. A stress response is triggered. But then after you respond to those emails, you do something that's calming. Perhaps you pet your dog or you go for a walk or you have a shower or you spend some time humming. Whatever it might be, your stress response comes down. You're activating your parasympathetic nervous system in order to bring you back to safety. And then later on throughout your day, something else happens that causes another spike in stress. Completely normal and completely fine. But Then again, you'll do something again after that brings you back down. So throughout your day, you will automatically go between stress and calm, stress and calm, stress and calm. And that is not dangerous. Stress is not dangerous. However, getting stuck in a cycle of stress without the ability to down-regulate is what turns into chronic stress. And that can be dangerous in the long term. So when your sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight, is activated, your heart rate will increase and your breath will become more fast and more shallow. And your digestion will slow down because your body is prioritizing bringing energy to your outer limbs that are used to run or to fight. And then your focus will narrow. So you're really, really zoned in on this specific task at hand, whether that is fleeing or fighting. And then on the other hand, you have your parasympathetic nervous system, your rest and digest. And this state is allowing for digestion. So more blood and more energy is going to be sent towards your internal organs to facilitate digestion. And it's also when you can allow and facilitate for immune system repair and emotional processing in your brain, and also sleep. Sleep is crucial here. And if you're sleeping very poorly, waking up at 3-4 a.m. every single night, it might indicate that your system is not really safe enough to rest. Your system does not feel safe enough to rest. So your sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight, is still active, and it's hypervigilant and scanning for danger even when you are sleeping. That might be why you wake up in the middle of the night and you're feeling wired and you're feeling tired still. But here is also what's really important. You cannot think your way out of this state because your body needs to feel safe first. Remember how I said that the nervous system feels and then responds. It needs to feel safe first. And this is where a lot of people get stuck because they try to change their thoughts, but the body is still perceiving a threat. So they say things like, why can't I calm down? Or I know that I am safe. I've done all the mindset work. But the nervous system, it doesn't respond to logic. It responds to sensory information. And this is also why nervous system regulation isn't about relaxing more or thinking positively. It's about learning how to signal safety to your system that's been stuck in survival mode for far too long. And once you understand that, a lot of self-blame can suddenly start to soften. And examples of those types of information is your breath pattern. Your breath is in constant communication with your nervous system. So by changing the way you breathe, you can change your state. So for instance, if you are constantly breathing fast and shallow by nature, perhaps you are over-breathing or you have what's called a breathing dysfunction. That's for another episode. But if you're constantly breathing fast and shallow, you're constantly signaling to your nervous system that you are under threat. So by slowing down your breath, you're sending cues to your nervous system that you are indeed safe. And those are cues of safety that the nervous system can feel. And other types of sensory information includes muscle tension and posture and pace of movement, and also the tone of your voice. So these are all the inputs that tell you whether the nervous system should stay alert or whether it should soften. So from this first episode, we have a few takeaways. And the first takeaway is that stress is simply a signal. It's not a problem. So when you feel stressed, ask yourself, what is my nervous system responding to right now? Don't ask yourself, what's wrong with me? Don't be judgmental, but be curious here. What is my nervous system responding to right now? And then takeaway number 2, regulation comes before mindset work. So if you're activated, calm thoughts won't land. You have to regulate first and then reflect second. And actually, when you are reflecting from this regulated space, you are more likely to make clear and focused decisions. And takeaway 3 from this episode is that awareness is the first skill. So I'm inviting you now to start noticing your breath and your tension in your body and your pace and your overall energy. There's no need to fix anything just yet. Just notice all this information that's available to you by listening to your body's signals. Are you feeling perhaps tense somewhere? In your chest or in your jaw, in your neck? Perhaps you're feeling anxious, you have a pit in your stomach or in your chest, it feels heavy. Perhaps you have muscle tension or sore shoulders. Notice your breath. Are you taking slow, gentle breaths in and out through your nose, or are you breathing in and out through your mouth? Is your breath up in your chest, or is it lower down in your belly? And let's end today's episode with a tool that you can use at any time throughout your day. It's called the physiological sigh. So inhale in through the nose with me. And at the very top of your inhale, take another sip of air. And then exhaling out through the mouth. One more time, just like that, inhaling in. Second inhale at the top. And exhale out. Continue doing this for another 2 or 3 rounds. This is the physiological sigh. It's a double inhale in through your nose, followed by a prolonged exhale out through the mouth. It sends signals to your nervous system that you are safe by activating your parasympathetic nervous system, your rest and digest. It's one of the fastest ways to bring you out of stress and into calm. And you can use it anytime throughout the day, whether you're in traffic or in a work meeting or before a presentation or before a hard conversation with a loved one. Anything from 3 to 5 to 10 repetitions is enough in order to feel the effect of that calm. This is not a relaxation trick, it's actually biology. You can now let go of any type of breathing technique and just come back to your natural breath. Thank you for listening in today. And in the next episode, we are going to dive a little bit deeper into how much stress your nervous system can handle and why you sometimes feel like one day you can cope beautifully and the next day everything seems to be falling apart. And that concept is called the window of tolerance. If this episode resonated with you, you'll find other resources and deeper guidance linked below. And for now, just notice your body today. Not to judge it in any single way, but to understand it. Thank you so much.